Hello and welcome to another episode of Relationship Biohackers, the naked truth about relationship. On today's episode, we're going to discuss red flags on relationship and things you shouldn't ignore.
And this is important because oftentimes when you're dating, there are red flags right in front of you that you're ignoring because you're excited. It's a new
Euphoria.
relationship. Exactly. So,
Euphoria.
and then 5 years later, guess what happens? All of
5 years?
10 years, maybe not
A
even.
year?
Exactly. All of that stuff starts bubbling up and you want your partner to change and you don't like this and you don't like that. When really that could have been avoided if you were to pay attention to these red flags before you even got married.
Absolutely.
So let's get started.
So, on this episode, unfortunately, this is such a hot topic. We unsuccessfully tried last week to film this, and it ended up going for an hour and a half. And to be honest with you, as much as we know you love us, we don't see you sitting for an hour and a half listening to us talk. So what we decided to do is, instead of dragging you through this, as important as it is, for an hour and a half, we decided to do two episodes. Episode one is going to cover the first five things. Episode two is going to cover the other five things. So the five things we're going to discuss on this. We're going to go through how your partner discusses their past relationship,
which is super important. Their outlook on life,
which is absolutely important because you want to know if you're the same space that they are. You want to also discuss big issues for me: jealousy, insecurities, controlling. You'll see that early in the relationship.
and then you also really want to look at how they treat service staff, people who they view as beneath them, because that's going to tell you whether or not they're functioning from a narcissistic attitude. If they think they're superior and they're better than everybody else, they may eventually treat you that way.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the last one for this episode that we put a lot of importance is your relationship with your parents. So if you're dating somebody, and we're going to get into it, you really want to find out a key question to ask: what is your relationship with your parent? Because that speaks volumes about how that person is going to be able to be in a relationship with you.
Yep. So without further ado, let's get right into the first one. Because when you're dating, you want to figure out your partner's past, who they were in their past relationships, how many past relationships they had, why those relationships ended, and if your partner actually took responsibility for why those relationships ended. Because if you notice, when they tell you about their past relationships, the blame is always on their ex. Then if you guys break up, the blame's going to be on you.
Absolutely. Now, going down that rabbit hole, let me preface that by saying it is absolutely important that you have this discussion with somebody that you're dating, somebody that you're about to date, or somebody that you're in a relationship with where you never had this conversation. But in order to have this conversation, you have to put your ego aside, because so many couples that we work with, so many clients that we end up working with, single clients, who, when it comes to discussing past relationship, their egos show up, their insecurities show up. They create an environment where where your potential partner can't communicate with you because you're like, I should have been whatever it is that you needed when we weren't together. Like, it's insane. So if you're going to go into this with issues of jealousy and insecurity about what your partner did before meeting you, don't waste your time, because that alone says you're not ready to have that kind of conversation.
Well, and all of that shows up. They don't want to hear about, oh, you may have enjoyed this partner more. They don't want to hear even the details. And that's where the good stuff is, where you're going to find out who your partner was and their other relationships. You have to know the details of what they liked, what they didn't like, what their ex did that they didn't like, what their ex did that they did like. Because in knowing that and in questioning that, and we started that conversation on our second date, you actually get to discover who this person is and who they're going to be in a relationship with you.
And what she's really talking about is about the sex, the good stuff.
Which
It's really what she's talking about.
Yeah.
But realistically, guys, if I've been through two failed marriages, and the first thing that I did was I looked at how I contributed to the failure, because I was cognitive enough, and being a relationship coach helped me in my second marriage. I wasn't a relationship coach in my first marriage, but being a relationship coach in my second marriage really put me in a position in every relationship therein. The minute it broke up, instead of doing this, and as the Buddha says, there's three more, four actually, pointing back at me. And too often our egos become so big and we're so want to be victims that we choose to ignore how we contributed to the relationship falling down. We all want to put it on our exes.
Exactly. And in a relationship, it takes two to tango.
Absolutely.
And as you say in the Caribbean,
one hand doesn't clap.
No, it takes two hands to clap. So in a failed relationship, took two partners
Absolutely.
to cause the relationship to fail. Each partner has a contribution. Each partner is at fault. Each partner has to take responsibility for them to actually be able to heal and let that relationship go. Because if not, guess what? They're going to carry all that baggage with them into the next relationship and repeat the same pattern. And we see that all too often with clients who get into this next relationship, the next relationship, the next relationship, doing the same thing, fails again for the same reason, and they wonder why.
Well, so you kind of touched on another topic that we can have a long discussion about. And it's the constant need to be in a relationship, which there's nothing wrong with that. But rushing one relationship into another without really discussing with yourself and doing some reflection on yourself as to how I contributed to my past relationship falling down before I ran into the next relationship, because I can't be alone and I need, and unfortunately there's a lot of people out there who can't be alone. So instead of looking at themselves in the mirror and seeing what am I missing from myself, what did I contribute to my past relationship? Nope, I need the next relationship now. I actually had a client years ago. You know her as well. She's now successfully married. But that was one of the things when one of her breakups, for the briefest moment, she came to see me as a client. And I finally dug it out of her that she could not be without a relationship. Mm-hmm. So she'd hold on to the broken one until it's literally dead on the floor, but will not leave until something new showed up.
Yep, I know a lot of clients that way as well. And unfortunately, they never give themselves the time to work on themselves to get rid of all the past baggage so they don't keep repeating the same pattern. And that's really what you want to see when you're dating somebody. You want to see that red flag that they're not taking responsibility for anything they contributed in the relationship. It was always their ex's fault. So how is this relationship going to be? Is the blame always going to be put on me? And if so, do I really want that in a relationship where it's always my fault?
But it's not just about the ex's fault as well. One of the things you want to look at is if you're dating somebody, is how much time are you given in between the relationships to heal?
Well, we have a rule.
Our rule is?
3 months per every year.
Absolutely.
So if you've been in, whether you're in a committed relationship or let's say a marriage for 1 year, after that relationship ends, you need to take 3 months off from dating and relationships to work on you.
Yeah. And listen, when we say that, nobody's saying that you can't have sex. Nobody is saying that if you have one's needs and desires, that you can't go out and fulfill those. But keep your heart in place. Like you always tell female clients, especially, protect this, not that.
Exactly.
Because this is more important. This is going to carry baggage into the next relationship. So it's so very important for you to really look at who you are, give yourself time to heal, reflect on the past relationship, really take a look and see how you contributed to the other relationship breaking down. Because if not, you're going to move forward looking for a new relationship. And the cause, if you look at the one central feature in all the broken relationship, there's one common factor: you.
Yep.
So if you're not really looking at you and saying, okay, what did I do wrong in my past relationship that I'm promising myself I'm not going to do in this relationship? But like you said, the topic really comes back to how we talk about it, because to get to that level, folks, that we're talking about, that's hours and hours of conversations, like months into the relationship. But right out of the gate, the instant flag for you, because you're not going to get that level. I can promise you this. we were pretty evolved when we met each other, emotionally evolved enough to be able to have that
Communicate.
conversation in the
Exactly.
second date. However, it took me, if you remember,
Mm-hmm.
it took me months of questioning you slowly for you
Well,
to start opening up about your past relationship.
exactly. And there is a fear that no man has ever asked me before how many people I slept with. And this is a whole nother conversation we'll discuss in another video.
And nobody's ever
But
asked you how you were in the other
exactly. Well, there's the
relationships.
fear of, well, if I tell you, what are you gonna think? So there's a lot of fear and shame. And women especially, they've shut down their voice. So they don't know how to communicate about, let's say, their past sex life, their past relationships. So they have a lot of fear to actually open up. And a lot of this oftentimes goes back to childhood. If you were told as a child to don't speak, shut up, we don't want to hear, your opinion's not important, there is a lot of baggage. And that's why it's so important for people to really work on themselves. And luckily, that's why we were evolved enough to
Absolutely.
come together
Yeah.
and have this conversation. You put in the work on you before I met you. I put in the work on me before I met him. I did a lot of classes to heal myself, but it still did take work because I'm like, well, you want to know how many men I've been with? What? You want to know what they did, what I enjoyed, what I didn't enjoy? That was scary to talk about because are you going to judge me? Why do you want to know?
But it's also scary. I
Not
think for a
knowing.
lot of people, it's scary to ask the question because,
Mm-hmm.
again, we go back to the beginning of our conversation where if you're an insecure person, you don't want to know. You want to judge the
Mm-hmm.
person based on who they were before they freaking
Yes.
met you. Like, come on, they didn't know you, so whoever they were, accept them right where they are. So
Absolutely.
if, again, it's a flag for you to look at that if I'm judging this person when they weren't with me, I'm at fault. I'm the one I've got to look
Mm-hmm.
at and go, I wasn't in their life. Who am I to judge them? And if I'm going to judge them so early in the relationship, I'm going to spend a lifetime judging them.
Absolutely.
So this is what we talk about, holding up the mirror and looking at yourself and going, you know what? I don't have the right to judge you. Just like when I asked you,
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't in your past. And if
Absolutely.
I was going to judge you on how many partners you have, on what you
Mm-hmm.
did and what you didn't do, and go, oh, well, she's not this, and then I don't need to be in a relationship with you.
Yep.
And for sure, you don't need to be in a relationship with me because you certainly don't want to spend the rest of your life being judged by me.
Nope, not at all.
And
Definitely not.
first time we have a fight, guess what I'm going to do?
You're gonna
I'm
bring
going
it
to
up.
bring it up and go, oh, but you did this in your past. And that is not, if that's the pathway you're going to go down the relationship,
Makes
fuck it, just
absolutely
walk
sense.
away. Walk away and just go be by yourself. Because if you're going to judge somebody you just met for the
Mm-hmm.
first time, somebody that you potentially want to be in a relationship
Mm-hmm.
with, you don't deserve to be in a relationship.
Nope, not at all. But that moves us into the second point as well, the outlook on life. You're going to see in how they talk about their past relationships, their outlook on life. Were they always the victim?
Absolutely.
Does stuff always happen to them
Yeah.
and they have bad luck and, oh, I had a bad day? Because if you're always down here, if they're always down here functioning from the bad day, poor me, victimhood, you're always going to spend a lifetime trying to pull them up to you if you're a happy person.
Listen, at the end of the day, folks, we all have shit to deal with. We all have stresses to deal with. We all have our own baggage and trauma and drama. The last thing we need is to be picking up somebody and carrying them with us.
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell you, I didn't want that.
Absolutely. I didn't want it either.
If you didn't show up as positive as you were, because there was a lot of people that I dated and they didn't realize that, well, I was kind of cheating when I dated them because one of the things that I do, and don't freak out about this, it's not a fetish, so don't go crazy, is part of my coaching, one of the techniques to peel away from people's story is there's a technique called toe reading, which is a whole different conversation. So every time I dated, I would ask the girls before I met them that, hey, I know this is going to sound freaky, but can you wear open toe shoes? And they'll be like, what? I'm like, yeah, just wear open toe shoes. It would help that we were living in a hot place. So it wasn't a problem. But the reason I looked at it is because based on what they said to me at the date, I can look at their feet and see if their words matched what was going on in their body.
Mm-hmm.
Now, like we said, not everybody has that skill, but the skill that you do have is paying attention to what that person is saying and how they're saying it. And like you said, my job sucks, my parents sucks, my friend sucks, my ex sucks, oh, I don't have enough money, oh, my car is broken, oh, then run.
Or even something as simple, and I've heard this with so many clients. Oh, I'm a bitch if I haven't had my coffee in the morning.
Yeah,
why do you need coffee to wake up happy?
And why do you need to be proud that you're a bitch?
Exactly. Or that you're grumpy in the morning. Like shift your attitude, shift your perspective on life and wake up happy instead of needing something to become happy. So that right there would be a red flag that, uh-oh, if you're going to talk to her in the morning before she's had her coffee,
Well, that's just it.
you
And
know.
especially if you're in, listen, our relationship is, I have been wired to wake up by 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. So I don't care, holiday, Saturday, Sunday, it don't make a difference to me. I have a routine that I go through. I do my meditation, I do my yoga, I do my self-reflection first thing as soon as I wake up in the morning. For years, I've been trying to get my wife on that program. However, I do recognize she loves to sleep.
I do.
But the beauty of it is that when you wake up, you're not grumpy because you've been
Mm-hmm.
sleeping, and you're not angry at me because I wake up and I'm like, okay, come on, let's go. The morning started like the whole days I had. We can actually meet each other in that space
Mm-hmm.
and be okay.
Absolutely.
So again, watch how they speak, watch what they say, watch how they say it. All of those things will give you a good insight on who the person is.
Because why would you want to invest your life with somebody who is negative from the get-go, who is a Debbie Downer from the get-go,
Absolutely.
who is always a victim from the get-go? Pay attention to those red flags and stop being sidetracked by the lust, the passion, the excitement, the newness of the relationship, that fear of being alone, the fear of I'm never going to find somebody better,
Oh,
never going
wait.
to find somebody more handsome or more gorgeous, or well, he's a good guy. I don't like these other things, but he's a good guy. I've heard that so many times.
Or the better one yet, I can change him or her.
Oh
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
If I just love them enough,
I
they'll
can change
change
them.
for
Yeah.
me. They're gonna change for me. They
No.
haven't changed for anybody else, but they're gonna
No,
change for
folks.
me.
What you see
Doesn't
is
happen.
what you get. Here's the reality. If that person is negative, even if you force them to act positive, they're going to resent you for it. No matter what you think, they're going to resent you for it. Just like if you going into the third topic, which is jealousy, insecurity, and the need
Mm-hmm.
for control and a certain amount of narcissism, if that person, if you're seeing those flags, that person is never going to change who they are. They may put on a good face to make you quote unquote happy, but they're going to resent you every single time that they have to put on that face because that is not the core of who they are.
Mm-hmm.
And like we always say, we have clients who, and there's a lot of young people, especially women, and I'm not beating up on the women, but there's a lot of women out there, and I've had a lot of people that I've dated, I've had a lot of people that I've spoken to, I've had a lot of people that I've coached. It's an insane theory to believe that insecurity is a sign of love.
Oh, he's jealous. He loves
You're
me.
fucking crazy if you think that. It is not.
Mm-mm.
Insecurity
Definitely
is
not.
about narcissism. It's about the need for control. It's about me not being comfortable with who I am. So therefore, I'm afraid of losing you to somebody else out there. That's what insecurity is about. It has nothing to do with, oh, I love you, so therefore I'm jealous of you. That
No.
is all
It
about
all
control.
it all comes back to self-worth, self-love, and just owning who you are. Knowing that you are being the best partner for your partner and they're not gonna leave you.
Well,
But we'll do a whole show on this because this is a good topic and I've struggled with it and I've gotten over the humps. I'm not like you show up without any jealousy and insecurity at all.
why have it? Listen, folks, I'll put it out there. At 19, I dated a girl. I gave her my heart, and she would not commit. She was hanging out with all these different boys and friends, and it drove me fucking insane. So I decided then at 19, I was done. I'm like, you see this feeling? I don't ever want this feeling again. So I worked on me to make
Mm-hmm.
sure that I would never be insecure ever again. I would never have jealousy ever again because I absolutely hated the feeling. That's why today I can't stand. My wife knows this. My pet
Yeah.
peeve, try to control me. Please try to control me. And watch how fast my bags are packed and I'm out the door. That's my one breaking point. You could do anything you want. Do not try to control me. I cannot stand jealousy. I cannot stand insecurity. I don't want the trauma and drama associated with it. Nada, nada, nada. But it's a big thing and it's easy to discuss, guys. It's easy to see early in the relationship. You'll see it when you're dating them, and
Mm-hmm.
even
Who are you
just
talking to?
yeah, who you, where were you yesterday? We were supposed to meet. Look, when we dated, we went on a second date that we went out. You had invited me to one
Mm-hmm.
of the classes you were teaching. I came out, I helped you out. We went through the class, which is a whole different conversation we can have. But at the end of class, you had a swarm of people around you,
Mm-hmm.
and I wanted to spend time with you. And instead of
Mm-hmm.
being insecure and jealous that, oh my God, you have all these people, and I'm hearing people going, oh, we're going out, let's go for drinks here. Nobody invited me, which is cool. She was busy. I just packed up and bounced and went about my merry way. I'm like, you know what? This is our second date. These people know her. These people want to spend
Mm-hmm.
time with her. I'm not going to take all of her time and go, oh, well, we're on a second date. Oh, no, you got to spend time. Oh, why aren't you invited? I want to go. Like, I was like, hey, go do your thing. You're
Mm-hmm.
the one who reached out to me the next day and said, hey, where did you go? And I told you, you were with people who wanted you to be there. So you know what?
Yep.
I'm out.
Absolutely.
So it's easy to see at the very early because folks will tell you this before we move on. And the reason we're spending so much time on this point will destroy your relationship. This is such a
Mm-hmm.
big deal. It will rip, it's like a cancer in your relationship. Jealousy, insecurity, the need for control. If it's in you, you better fix it. If you're seeing it in your partner, you better decide if that's something that you want to live with. That will come back and haunt you. It will not go away.
Mm-hmm.
So,
It can if people work on it. I've worked on it over the years and it's
absolutely, if
gone
you're
away.
willing to work on it,
But they have to be willing to work on it, not because you want your partner to change. That's why they're going to work on it. They have to work on it because
they
they
want to
want
change.
to work on it.
Absolutely. So, the jealousy thing, and folks, really, listen, it's easy. What the fuck do you have to be jealous about? If, like I've told you, if you own you, if you know the gift that you are, what do you need to be jealous? If somebody can't appreciate who you are and recognize who you are and how you're going to contribute
Mm-hmm.
into their life, let them go. You can't own them. They'll
They don't
never be owned.
exactly. If they don't appreciate you, why
Let them
would you want to be with
go.
somebody who doesn't appreciate you?
If I wanted the early relationship, the very early stages, I start controlling your time or the time you
Mm-hmm.
spend with me and the time you don't spend with me, there's a red flag. It's a controlling
Yep.
behavior. They're going to do that for the rest of the relationship.
Well, and we have a lot of friends as well. Look, quite a few of your guy friends have given up their sports, their hobbies.
Absolutely.
Why? Because, oh, well, I don't have time. I have to spend time with my wife or my family. And in the meantime, they're carrying all this resentment because they no longer get to go mountain biking or
All the things they did before
hiking.
they met you.
Exactly. So don't take away their passions. Don't take away their hobbies now that they're married to you, now that they're in a relationship and have kids. Let them still have their passions.
But isn't that what compatibility is? That looking at what the other person does and go, I like that about you.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny how we see it in a relationship that the things that you once liked about the person when you were dating them, when you're in the committed relationship, suddenly those things are a problem.
Yep.
I don't like the fact that you go out with your friends and drink. When you met me, I used to go and meet my friends at happy hour. For a lot of people, shit, I met you at happy hour. Like, really?
Yes.
But now I can't go.
Yep.
Or you go out with your friends and you play poker on Thursday night. I was doing this before I met you.
Absolutely.
So now that I'm in a relationship with you, I can't do it. That's what you're saying to me?
But then it comes back onto me. If I give up, let's say, going to the gym because you don't want to go to the gym, you don't want me going to the gym for whatever reason. If I give that up, then I'm only going to carry resentment towards
Yeah.
him and myself because I chose to give it up. And then one day I'll wake up and be like, wow, I've lost myself. I've given up everything, who I am, what I like, what I do. And then you're just going to carry hatred, anger, resentment towards your partner. And you don't want to get there.
And we have an old saying, control is not taken, it's given. So in order for me to control you, you have to give up
Mm-hmm.
control.
Absolutely.
It's not something that can take. I can't put a gun to your head and go, you have to do what I say.
Yeah.
It has to be given. So when you think that somebody's controlling you, it again, look in the mirror, folks. You gave up control to that person. They didn't take it from you. You gave it up. So before you go blame the other person for what they supposedly did to you, look in the mirror and see what you did.
Yep.
Like you said, the gym analogy is a good one. Or before I met you, if you went out with your girlfriends and I start having issues with, oh,
Mm-hmm.
well, you go out, I don't know who's flirt with you, and you stop going out with your girlfriends just to make me happy, guess what? I didn't control you to give up your girlfriends. You gave that up.
Exactly. Well, and another analogy here that we see with a lot of couples is the jealousy, let's say, it's the ownership. You don't want me dressing sexy when we go out because I might get attention from other guys. And really, it would boil back down to your partner just not owning who they are and going, you know what? I like my partner getting attention. I want my partner to look sexy. I want my partner to dress sexy. I want to see my partner confident.
And just so we clear, folks, I do actually encourage her to dress sexy.
Yes, he does.
So, she was just using that as an example. But that's just the reality. We see it all the time.
Who,
we see it all the time.
I can't wear that because my partner will get upset. He'll question why I want attention. And that's a big thing in today's world. And this ties into that next piece of the narcissism. But everybody is looking for likes. So if your partner, when you first meet them, if they're constantly posting on Instagram or Facebook, sexy poses, sexy outfits, and they're addicted to the likes, they may very well need that while they're in the relationship.
Absolutely. Absolutely. As a matter of fact, I have a client right now that both her and her partner is actually an Instagram famous, and she's working her way to get Instagram famous. I get it. It pays. You start becoming an influencer and it pays you very well. But that it's a very important part. If your partner is, now that we're dealing with social media, because back in the day we didn't have these things. Back in the day it was going out to the bar and how many people hit on you. Now it's a matter of, it's in the palm of my hand. How many people are liking me? How many people are following me? How many people are DMing me? And that gives me some sense of importance. So if that's who the person is when you're dating them, don't expect them to change that. Don't start going through. This is a big thing for, I do not go on my wife's Instagram and see, okay, who's she following? Oh, I better follow that person too. Who's she? No, I couldn't be bothered. Whoever likes her, whoever posts her, I couldn't be bothered.
But it does create, it does create, I read a recent study lately that more people are spending more time in the bathroom. Why? Because they're on their phones while they're sitting on the toilet. And I think it was some crazy statistic, like 30% of couples are now jealous because their partner is spending too much time on their phone in the bathroom, and the partner is wondering, what are you doing on your phone in the bathroom so much?
So, folks, again, we're spending a lot of time on this topic of jealousy, insecurity, and controlling. The jealousy, I guess what my wife is saying is the jealousy just doesn't exist at a physical level of somebody doing something with you other than me. The jealousy issue now is expanding out to how much time you're spending on that smart device compared to how much time you're spending with me. How much time are you spending chatting with people that I don't know about comparing to how much time you're spending chatting with me?
Well, and it goes even further than that. And this is a tough topic for a lot of couples to actually hear. But we have a few clients who the male partner is actually jealous of the child because his wife now spends more time with the child than with him.
Absolutely. And that's deep down into the relationship. But that happens a lot, folks. It happens a lot. Or even now that they're blended families. These are things that we have to discuss. This topic we could spend an hour talking about. But even in blended families, the jealousy shows up with how much time are you spending with your ex? How much time are you spending with your child? Not our child, your child from your previous relationship. So all of those things are showing up as jealousy, insecurity. It's not as cut and dry and old school that it used to be about how many guys are paying attention to you. Now jealousy and insecurities are happening at a bigger basis. It's technology driven. It's blended family. It's previous relationships. It's children from because that's the world we live in today.
Yep, absolutely. So you have to be equipped with the tools to be able to handle it when it shows up. If not, it can literally destroy your relationship.
So we'll make you a promise. In the future, we are going to spend an entire episode dealing with jealousy, insecurity, controlling. We'll spend time revising some of this, but get into details, and we'll also give you some tools of how to get past that.
How to work on it. Yep, absolutely.
Now, in order for us not to kill you with this third topic, and I know that was a big one, if you could feel the weight of it, our fourth topic is going to be recognizing, again, early stages. So why do we call it flags on the play? The reality of it is this. In a football game, and I'm not a big NFL player, but if in an NFL game, you'll see one of the players will grab the ball and he will run to the end zone and he will ignore everything that's happening with him because my goal is to get that ball into that end zone. And all the referees are throwing flags based on whatever is going on that he have done or it's been going on outside of his peripheral vision, and he doesn't care. He just needs to get into that end zone. That's why we call it flags in the relationship, because in your goal really is to get to that end zone, which is to have a committed relationship, or to get, if you're in a committed relationship, to get a long lasting relationship. That's your end zone. Now, the flags are all the things you ignore in order to achieve that goal. So one of the other flags we talk about is that you can look for early. And we have this conversation with a lot of our younger clients. Our younger clients who are just starting to date, who are now, they may have a half a dozen dates under their belts and maybe a couple of relationships. So they're still, they're not like me, 2 marriages, 7, 8 long-term relationship. The reality of it is that when you go out with somebody, and this to be male or female, watch how they treat the service staff.
Or anybody beneath them. But most importantly, at restaurants, it is the service staff. If they talk down to them, if they're rude to them, if they completely just disregard them, they don't look them in the eye. Oh, okay, thank you.
Then it's not really beneath them. It's anybody who's in service of them. So let's kind of clear. Nobody's beneath me.
Well, the mentality that they have if they treat them bad is that they're beneath them. They're not good enough. They're not at their level. Well, I have more money than you, or I'm better looking than you, or I have more Instagram followers than you, or I'm paying, therefore you serve me. You're my slave, basically.
Yeah. I mean, we're here in Mexico, and having a housekeeper is very, very affordable. And we treat our housekeeper like she's family. Like the dog goes crazy for her. She shows up. We give her a hug. We compensate her well. To us, she's our friend who comes and takes care of our house for us.
Exactly. She doesn't work beneath us.
Absolutely.
She's not less than us. She's not inferior. We're not better than her.
Well, you have staff. You've got 4 or 5 staff. And I hear you tell them all the time, I'm your business partner. I'm not your employer.
Exactly. I'm not your boss. I'm not your employer. I treat them equally.
So if you're in a relationship and you're watching the person you're interested in talk down, if you go out to dinner or you're at a bar or you're anywhere that service is being provided and you or your partner has to pay for that service, and your partner, your prospect really is talking down on them and making them feel like they're a servant, run now, because that is going to come back and haunt you. Their personality that they have shows you exactly how they're going to be once they become comfortable with you.
Yeah.
So that one is an easy one to get to. Now, our 5th one before we end this particular one, and we'll continue on with the 2nd episode. It's ask, and again, it comes back communication, right? Communication is a big thing, folks. You have to have it from the very beginning of your relationship all the way to the end. We'll do an entire episode on what communication looks like. One of my favorite quotes has been from A Few Good Men, where Tom Cruise asked Jack Nicholson, you want the truth? You can't handle the truth. Well, I think it was the opposite. Jack Nicholson said that too. But anyway, that is the point is, in order for you, everybody in a relationship wants open communication. We want to be able to talk. But the reality of it, folks, in order for you to have good communication, you have to create an environment for communication, which means non-judgment, which means the person should feel comfortable coming and telling you anything. But again, whole different episode that we'll get into.
And we'll bring in the spoon.
Yes, we'll bring in the spoon. Yeah, there's a spoon. So our 5th and last one for this episode, the relationship with your partner's parents. That is adamantly important.
Well, and there's a saying that as a young girl, I will eventually marry somebody who resembles my father figure. So depending on my relationship with him, who he is, I basically look at him as this male model of who I would like to have as a partner. And I can honestly say you resemble a lot of my father. And young boys will eventually marry somebody like their mother. So depending, but if you have a young boy who absolutely despises his mother, doesn't treat her well, he is going to treat all women in his life that way.
And if you didn't have a good relationship with your dad, then you're incapable of really having, unless you're willing to put in the work on yourself, you're incapable of having a good relationship with another male in your life. Because think about it, folks. These are key people. These are the people who have shaped you for who you are today. Your mother is the person, especially for me, my mother is the most important person. I am the man that I am today because of that woman. So because of that, and because I hold her in such high esteem, that's exactly how I'm going to treat my wife. And you're right. Subconsciously, there's a lot of things about you that you have traits of my mother. And because I admired who she was, I admire that about you.
Absolutely.
And it's the same thing. That's why we say boys will marry their mother, girls will marry their dad.
Yep.
So there are traits in that person. Why is that so important? Why is the relationship with the parents so important? If you have, if you're dating somebody and they have a broken relationship with their parents from the get-go, then what tools do they really have to be in a relationship?
They don't have any. And we see all the time mother issues, father issues, if the father wasn't present, if the mother wasn't present. And then
Or
again,
the mother was controlling, or the
bring,
father was controlling. So
and then we
all
bring
those
in the
things.
blended families,
Absolutely.
which can oftentimes, that's where the jealousy comes from that we just talked about. Sometimes it comes from your childhood, your parents giving your stepbrother or stepsister more attention. So there's a lot of things that stem back from your childhood, but more importantly,
The
your
relationship.
relationship with
Absolutely.
your parents.
Because folks, like we said, if you're dating a guy, first question you need to ask, what was your relationship with your mom or your sisters? Tell me more about that and be willing to listen. They'll tell you. Listen. Listen to what they're saying. If the person's telling you, if it's a guy and he says, I hated my mom, she was controlling, she's this, she's that, guess what? He doesn't have the tools to be in a relationship with another
But
woman.
he's carrying a lot of, again, hatred,
Yep.
anger, resentment, whatever towards his mom.
Which you
And
take
that
to every woman.
is going to come out at you, the woman. And same with a woman. Let's say her dad wasn't in her life and she has daddy issues and she doesn't feel loved by men. She doesn't feel supported by
Wasn't hugged enough,
men.
wasn't loved enough.
Men
He was
disregard
controlling
her.
her.
Exactly, whatever. She's always going to then treat that or put that onto her partner. Well,
Yep.
you don't love me enough, or you're going to abandon me, or you're going to do
That's
this.
a big one. We
Yeah.
actually have a client who father passed away when she was a child, and she hasn't let go of the fact that she was abandoned as a child.
And she's afraid that every man who comes into her life is going to abandon her, which causes her to be jealous, which then pushes the man away, which then he ends up abandoning her. And it's basically just validating her belief and her fear that every man is going to abandon her. So she can't get out of this cycle and actually appreciate a man that shows up and be willing to just, okay, I'm going to accept you for who you are. I let go of this fear that my father abandoned me because he died. I'm not going to put that fear on you. And that's that baggage. Those are those rocks in the backpack that you carry into a relationship.
Absolutely.
So looking at that and hearing, wow, if let's say you're on a date with this woman and she tells you, yeah, my father abandoned me when I was 2 because he died. And
pay attention.
Red
listen,
flags.
Listen,
Red
the flags are
flags.
being thrown on play. So, well, folks, that's it for this episode. We're trying to keep it short and sweet, but as you can see, now you understood why the other one was unsuccessful, because it ran way too long to discuss the 10 things.
And then the file just disappeared off my computer because I think it was so
Yeah,
good.
it's too big. So we decided to break it up. So, as always, don't forget to follow us, subscribe, like,
Comment below what you liked about the episode.
what you would like us to discuss.
Exactly.
This is the naked truth, after all, and we'll put it out there. We know that there's not a lot of people, guys, we get it. Once you put yourself on social media, there are going to be the haters, there are going to be the trolls, there are going to be genuine people who disagree with what you say. This is our opinion. Never forget that. This is our opinion based on our own experience, both as coaches and people who are living in a 9-year successful relationship.
Exactly. And we're not providing a one-size-fits-all. Every relationship is individualized and customizable, and there may be other issues going on that what we're telling you isn't going to work. So that's why it's important. If you ever want to reach out to us and ask us our personal opinion of what's going on in your relationship, you can find the link below this episode to book a free discovery call session with us or book a full session with us. You also do a toe reading session over webinars.
Yeah.
So
that's the naked truth.
We'll see you in the next episode.
See you soon.